Hey folks, I hope everybody's enjoying the sunshine. Fantastic weather we're getting here in Ireland for once. We don't usually get summers like this, so it's great to see the sun shining and people out enjoying themselves. A bit of a fun video this time. We're going to do, as it's summer season and the blockbuster season at the cinemas, we're going to give a countdown or a count up from 1975 up to 2019. Because we leave out 2020 and 21 with COVID. There has been many blockbusters out in the cinemas. So we'll do up to 2019, and we'll start it off from 1975, and we'll go to 1985. Sorry, we won't do the whole list in this video. We'll do 1975 to 1985. So we'll start it off 1975. What more can be said about this movie? My favorite movie of all time. It is, of course, Jaws. It started the summer blockbuster. There was queues around the blocks in every country in the world to see this movie when it came out in 1975. And adjusted for inflation, this movie has made over 1.1 billion. So yeah, it really is a classic movie. If you're one of the few people on the planet that hasn't seen Jaws, I would highly recommend you stream it or get it on DVD or Blu-ray and watch it. It is a classic. I showed it to my 11-year-old son and his friend recently, and they absolutely loved it, enjoyed it totally. So not bad for a 46-year-old movie. Incidentally, that year it didn't win Best Picture at the 1975 Academy Awards. That went to the fantastic One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So, I mean, the movies that make the most money don't always win Best Picture, or hardly ever win Best Picture. So that year it was the fantastic One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest that took the Best Picture Oscar. So that's Jaws, 1975. We'll move on to 1976, and the biggest grossing film that year was The Omen, a horror classic, again starring Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, directed by the fantastic Richard Donner, who sadly passed away last week or the week before, who also directed Superman the movie 1978 and the Lethal Weapon series, The Goonies, Scrooged. Richard Donner directed The Omen, and that was the biggest film of 1976. And the winner of Best Picture that year was, of course, Rocky, starring Sylvester Stallone, a great film. And it actually beat Taxi Driver that year. A lot of people think that Taxi Driver should have won Best Picture that year, but it went to Rocky. But The Omen took the gong for most money made. So yes, we move on to 1977, and of course we have the Star Wars A New Hope, or as back then it was called just Star Wars, but it was later retitled Episode 4 by George Lucas. Saw this in the cinema when I was 7, and again, a blockbuster. Queues around the blocks to see this. Changed cinema and the way we view science fiction films. It really was. I mean, the special effects, we've never seen anything like this before. It was just absolutely fantastic. And George Lucas really took the 1930s serials and brought them to another level here. And, you know, it just, to this day, it's made so much bloody money now. It's been released, it's been special editions, it's been, you know, it's just, it was in a whole industry that George Lucas created in 1977 with Star Wars. Incidentally, that year, Annie Hall won Best Picture. It didn't go to Star Wars. Woody Allen's Annie Hall took Best Picture that year. So we'll move on to 1978, and musical took the gong for the summer blockbuster that year, starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, of course. It's the classic Grease, the 1950s, based on the 1950s musical. Fantastic movie, brilliant. And of course it starred Jeff Conaway as well. Brilliant as Kinnicky in that movie, and Stockard Channing as Rizzo. I have fond memories of viewing that over the years on VHS when it came out, and VHS and later on DVD. So yeah, 1978 was Grease, and the Best Picture that year was won by the classic Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken, The Deer Hunter. Brilliant movie, fantastic film. So Grease didn't take Best Picture that year. It was The Deer Hunter, 1978. So moving on to 1979, we have another horror movie which took the gong that year for making the most money. It was the Amityville Horror, starring James Brolin and Margot Kidder, who famously played Lois Lane in the 1978 Superman the movie. This was based on a true story, loosely based on a true story of a family which moved into the famous Amityville house after after I can't remember his name now, murdered his family, and they moved in, and they were ran out of there saying that the house was haunted after 33 days or something like that. It's a good movie. I've seen it a couple. I haven't seen it recently, but it is a good movie from what I remember of it. Amityville Horror. So that was 1979. Incidentally, again, Kramer versus Kramer took the Best Picture gong that year. At the Oscars, it wasn't the Amityville Horror. It was Kramer versus Kramer, starring Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman in Kramer versus Kramer. A very, very good movie. If you haven't seen that, check it out. So now moving on to 1980, and the biggest blockbuster that year, the biggest money-making movie, was, of course, Star Wars sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, and for many, the best and my favourite Star Wars movie of all time, The Empire Strikes Back, sequel to Star Wars. Magnificent film, magnificent, directed by Irvin Kershner, wasn't directed by George Lucas. This is a fantastic sequel to Star Wars, and it still, for me, is the best Star Wars movie that they've made, that was made to date. That year, it didn't win Best Picture in 1980. It was Ordinary People, which took the gong for Best Picture Oscar, which also beat The Elephant Man. I think The Elephant Man should have won that year, but it was Ordinary People won Best Picture that year. So moving on to 1981, and we have another Steven Spielberg classic, and introduced us to our hero Indiana Jones. Of course, it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, a marvelous film, one of my favourite movies of all time as well. Spielberg and George Lucas combining, Spielberg directing and George Lucas creating the story and creating the character of Indiana Jones. Lightning in a bottle here, folks. If you haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, you need to see this movie. It really started this hero that we've all grown to love. And of course, that iconic score by John Williams as well. Fantastic. And not enough can be said about that movie. I was 11, I think it was, I was about 11 when that came out. So a perfect age to see Indiana Jones break onto the big screen. 1981, that year, was Chariots of Fire, which won Best Picture at the Oscars. It wasn't Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was 1981. Now we move on to 1982. Another Steven Spielberg film took the gong for the blockbuster that year. It was, of course, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, a cracking movie as well. And this was made for peanuts by Spielberg. Peanuts, they made this movie for something like 9 million or something like that. And over the years, the amount of money that summer, that money that film made was astronomical. It really was. It was a phenomenon when it came out, with marketing and, lunch boxes and everything, and bags, T-shirts. E.T. was everywhere, you couldn't go anywhere where E.T. was plastered all over the place. And a great movie. It really is a great movie. It tears at the heartstrings as well. And Henry Thomas is fantastic in that movie. Really is. He recently showed up in The Haunting of Hill House. He still looks the same that he did back in 1981. What won Best Picture that year? I think it was Gandhi. Yes, it was Gandhi, Richard Attenborough's biography movie of Gandhi. A cracking movie. Really great film. And later, Richard Attenborough would star in a blockbuster made by Steven Spielberg. So 1983 next, and we have another Star Wars movie which took the gong for the summer blockbuster crown. Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. A lot of people think this is a weak outing. I've always liked Return of the Jedi. Okay, the Ewoks are in it, and it's a bit childish here and there, but It really has the redemption sorry, of Darth Vader, and the classic showdown with Luke Skywalker. You know, it's Star Wars. It's better than the prequels. It's better than the new sequels. I love it. It's Return of the Jedi, 1983. And incidentally, what won Best Picture that year was Terms of Endearment, starring Shirley MacLaine. Brilliant film, fantastic movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars that year. It wasn't Return of the Jedi. Okay, we've two more to go. 1984. Now, this surprised me when I was researching what was the best blockbuster that year. Ghostbusters, starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. Brilliant movie. Fantastic movie. I've seen this so many times over the years. Really love this film. Harold Ramis as well starred in this. Ghostbusters, it comes on TV and you stop and you watch it. It's fantastic. It's funny, and it really is. And I think they're making a new one that's coming out next year, maybe. Ghostbusters. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's loosely based on the original Ghostbusters after the disappointing remake of Ghostbusters that came out a few years ago, which was absolutely terrible. But they're making a new Ghostbusters film, so watch out for that. So that was 1984. Best Picture that year was won by Amadeus. A very, very good movie. I've seen it years ago. Can't really remember it. I must check that out again, actually. There's a lot of movies here that won Best Picture when I was doing some research on this that I have to check out again. I haven't seen Amadeus in a long, long time. So that was 1984. Ghostbusters taking the money and Amadeus taking the statue for Best Picture. So last but not least on our list up to 1985, it is of course Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Back to the Future. Another classic. Really is a fantastic film. Time travel, DeLorean, it's got everything. This movie has stood the test of time. No matter what generation you show this movie to, they're going to love it. I showed this to my son last year. He was 10. We watched the trilogy and he absolutely loved it. Fantastic. Sheer entertainment. Fantastic entertainment. And Thomas F. Wilson in that as Biff. He plays the perfect bully in that. I've always loved him in that role. And I just love Back to the Future and I love the trilogy. I watch it once a year at least. I take it out and we put it on. It's absolutely brilliant. So 1985, Out of Africa won the Oscar for Best Picture that year. And I remember that Pretty's Honor lost out to Out of Africa that year, and I thought Pretty's Honor with Jack Nicholson and Angelica Houston should have won Best Picture that year. So that was 1985. That's our list all the way from 1975 to 1985. I'd love to know your comments on what your favourite blockbuster of those 10 years was. Did you like those movies? Did you think there was better movies that should have made more money or better movies that should have won Oscars that year? Comment below if you can. And subscribe to the channel, McCord Movies. As I said, it's a fledgling channel. It's a new channel doing reviews of my favourite movies. And as I said, fun reviews like this. So please comment below, subscribe, slap a like and subscribe to the channel, McCord Movies. And we'll do 1985 to 1995 in the next video. So enjoy this one, take care, and we'll talk soon.